Football at 4 powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. I see you watching on the YouTube platform, 40 Kid. He says, just in time for Football at 4. Adam Caplan is here for today's Football at 4. We're going to look at, yesterday, we looked at some under the radar players on the offensive side of the ball. Today, we are going to flip over to the defensive side of the ball, where there are plenty guys who are up for jobs. Who are some guys you might not be thinking of? Well, we're going to tell you today on today's Football at 4. Adam Caplan is here from the Inside the Birds podcast, which you can get on all podcasting platforms. Just search Inside the Birds. What's going on, Adam?
Mike, good to talk to you on an Aaron Rodgers Thursday here in the Delaware Valley.
Looks like Aaron Rodgers is on a sign with the Steelers. What are the Steelers doing? Come on, this is a well-run franchise. Why do they need this drama?
So from talking to them, Mike, for months, they were really confident. The Rodgers never told them specifically, yeah, I'm definitely signing with you. All the indications they got were that if he plays and doesn't retire, he was going to sign with him. But he needed more time. He's been dealing with some kind of personal issue in his inner circle. It's not been reported. Nobody knows what it is, seemingly. But anyway, so if you're a Steelers fan, and I know they're out there in this area, you won't have to worry about Mason Rudolph being their starting quarterback unless Rodgers gets hurt. But I could tell you, I'm talking to the Jets, Rodgers played with two different injuries last season, an MCL sprain and a hamstring injury, and he played through it. He didn't play well. So at 41 and a half years old, Mike, on your point, this is what you're getting, a guy that's near the end of his career.
All right, so that's the news there. It looks like Aaron Rodgers is going to sign with the Steelers. He will be their quarterback and ready to go. That is, according to multiple reports there, breaking news. He is headed to Pittsburgh. He will sign with them, it looks like, tomorrow. All right, the Eagles, by the way, they will have the finishing up of their, what do they have, one more mandatory? Is that what it is?
Well, they only have one, and they have the shortest mandatory camp. Usually it's 3 days. The Eagles are only doing one. They're the only team that's doing one. And it's Tuesday. They worked today, and then they're not back to work until next Tuesday. And that's it. And then they're off until late July. So, and by the way, and we'll talk more about this next week, but several coaches have told me over the years, there's absolutely no difference between mandatory camp practice or any other practice that they're coaching. It's just everyone has to be there. That's the only difference. Like, you can't, unless it's excused, of course. We've seen this happen with teams where guys have something going on or whatever, but no, the bottom line is you're there and you got to be there. And then, again, it's the last practice until training camp.
All right, let's get into some stuff here. We got a good topic today. Yesterday we did under the radar offense, guys, and the offense is pretty set. We know there's a lot of interesting players, but the defense, there's a lot of openings, and these under the radar guys could come into play. So let's start on the defensive tackle spot, where they lost a key guy in free agency. Milton Williams is out, which means there's a lot of guys who could be in. Give me one that is interesting to you.
Yeah, so this, by the way, what we're talking about today was the subject of our show this morning on Inside the Birds with Jeff Mosher and I. And Jeff and I thought that Byron Young, who the Eagles claimed off waivers, he was the third-round pick 2 years ago from the Raiders out of Alabama. But here's what happened, Mike. So they had a coaching change and a regime change. They had a new general manager last year, Tom Telesco, who unfortunately got fired after one season. But Telesco made the decision to cut Byron Young, a third-round pick, who after one season, as a matter of fact, Mike, he never even made it to the cut down to 53. He was cut before that, which is not a good sign. But Eagles liked him. They had a good grade on him. They claimed him off waivers. He never wound up playing for them. It was kind of odd. He was on injury reserve twice with the Eagles last season, but nevertheless, he's healthy. He's practicing. And Mike, when you look at their projected starters, right? We know Carter will start. Jomo, we were told months ago, was definitely starting, and Jordan Davis will play a lot. Well, he'll start whether he plays 50% of snaps or more remains to be seen. I need to amend that. He's got to earn that. We'll see what happens. And we know what Vic Fangio said about him this week, but he's got to prove it. And then they're really excited about Ty Robinson, the fourth rounder out of Nebraska. Thomas Booker's back is mostly a nose tackle. And you need to have at least 6 D tackles on your roster. You could try 5, but because of the front that the Eagles have, is they need guys who can play multiple positions. Byron Young, Mike, look, there's a saying in the NFL, you can't teach size. 6'3" 3/8", 295, arm length 34 1/8. Mike, that is left tackle arm length. Hands are huge at size 11. Wingspan's really good. There's talent here, and you've got Clint Hurt, a top 3 defensive line coach of the National Football League. He's got a great opportunity here, Mike. There's no question about it. They need players, so they're kind of light at D tackle right now. They have no veterans, which is, by the way, what they did last year. They were the only NFL team to not have a vested veteran on their opening day roster. That is unheard of. And right now, by the way, they don't have a vested veteran on the roster.
By the way, real quick, Toronto's gone up 8-0. Luzardo is already out of the game. Yes, Luzardo is out of the game. 16 earned runs in his first 11 games. He has given up 20 over the last 2.
Let me just add something. And obviously, I'm saying this after the fact, but one can make the case that Rob Thompson leaving him in when they were down 7-0, and he left him in to just get crushed. That has got some carryover. Boy, that's not good. I hope he's okay physically. But anyway.
Absolutely. All right, so Byron Young, a former third-rounder. We talked about it the other day. They went with the 49er third-round running back. This is a former third-rounder who was a Raiders player. So he is a guy to kind of keep an eye on in that defensive tackle rotation. Now, do you think Moro Ojomo is going to get a uptick in snaps this year? Yeah,
he's a starter, Mike. They've made this decision. Now, for most of the season, I should note that they only kept 5 defensive tackles on the roster. They obviously had a guy or 2 on the practice squad, but they just basically they were playing what we call that roster tango. We've talked about this now for 8 years, where they might go light at position, but they've got guys who they can bring up on game day. They call them up off the practice squad. They use their elevation. So look, they could keep 5, but it would behoove them to keep 6. Most teams keep 6 defensive tackles, and the Eagles with that 5-man front, you're going to need them. So we'll see what happens, Mike. But the next guy I want to talk about is Smile Mondon. He's another 5th-round pick that we look at with the Eagles, where you go, you know what, there's talent here. I know he's small, but you know what, Mike? At 6'2 1/4", 225. Today's NFL linebacker can be 225. I was told that Zach Bond ended the season between 225 and 227. And you know how great he was? So it's okay. You don't have to be 240, 250. That doesn't matter anymore. Can you shed blocks? Can you move? And Mondon's a good player. He could cover. Now, what we were told, Mike, is the reason why he dropped to the 5th despite being with Georgia and a national champion, he had a stretch fracture. It wound up getting repaired. He had some injuries. He also had an ankle injury, so that was a concern. The size was less of a concern, Mike, but this is another position, inside backer. Their linebackers they play inside. Vic Fangio does not call anyone who lines up on the outside of backer. He calls them edge rushers, like Jalen Hunt and Nolan Smith.
Right.
So with Jacoby Dean's injury, which is major, with Jihad Campbell, Vic Fangio gave the answers to the test. He won't be ready until sometime in August. Here you go, Mike. It's Zach Bond. It's Jeremiah Trotter Jr. It's another guy from Toledo. Nick Sirianni loves that school. It's his former college roommate is the head coach at Toledo, Jason Candle. Dallas Gant is that guy from Toledo. Lance Dixon, who transferred from 2 schools and then went to it was Penn State and Toledo and another school. That's it, Mike. They don't have anybody else. So there's a one-off opportunity for Smile Mondon to play early as a backup. And by the way, look, Trotter Jr. definitely would start if the season started today, but Mike, it doesn't. Let's see what happens in training camp. You never know with Mondon.
Absolutely. Oh, hey, he was a guy that had a lot of promise, some injury issues there. So we'll see. Could he be one of these guys that kind of comes out of nowhere and ends up being a name that we're all talking about during training camp? All right, here's a name that I butchered the other day, but I do like him. I liked him the night they drafted him. For some reason, why did I think he went to Colorado State? I don't know where that entered my mind. But how about the corner, Mac McWilliams?
Yeah. Mike, here the thing with him, and this is what you talk about opportunity. Now, Perry Nickerson wound up not playing in a game, but he did play for Vic with Miami 2 years ago, so he knows the scheme really well. He's number 34. He right now he'd be the backup nickel, but Mac McWilliams was really drafted to play nickel. His arm length is really short. Now, the one thing about him with his build, I know he's 190. That's not too small. Very physical and very aggressive, I'm told, by someone who actually scouted him. So he's number 22, wearing a Santi Samuels old number, if you're looking for one. Or actually, I believe Keely Ringo used to be number 22. So it's kind of funny how things work out. but Ringo now is number 7. But when you look at it, Mike, they need a future nickel. Let's say that Cooper DeJean in 20, we know he's going to be the nickel this year, but let's say in 2026 they move him to safety, or safety would be a surprise, but let's say he plays outside corner, which is the position they drafted him to play, Mike. They're going to need a nickel. So watch Mac McWilliams. You mentioned a fifth rounder out of Central Florida. Let's see how he does in training camp. In a secondary, Mike, where there are a lot of openings. This is the kind of the cool thing is there are a lot of jobs open. Now, they had 5. They're going to have 5 new starters, at least on defense. They have a lot of backup jobs open, Mike. This is going to be a fun training camp. There are a lot of roles open. There's a lot of uncertainty, kind of what this thing's going to look like in terms of depth.
I agree with that. I mean, I definitely think there's a lot of interesting storylines at training camp. That corner room, and, the fact that he mentioned the other day casually, hey, Cooper DeJean could play some safety. They might be able to play him more there if a player like Mac McWilliams stands out in training camp. So keep an eye on that. He mentioned safety. What about a safety? Where's there a safety that we should be keeping our eye on?
All right, so he's not under the radar in terms of everybody knows who Lewis Seen is. He might be the most popular backup we've covered in 8 years, Mike, on the show. Look, it's really crazy. So we appreciate the people who quoted us. We put a note out when they signed him off the Bills practice squad. The Bills at some point were practicing him at linebacker. That doesn't seem like that's going to happen here. I'm not ruling it out, but that's not happened yet, if it does at all. But he's a safety right now for the Eagles. This guy was a first-round pick, Mike, over 6'2", has unbelievable measurables. Measurables are a trait, Mike. That's something that clubs love. Now, Lewis Seen has not played meaningful football in nearly 3 years. He's totally over the compound fracture. He's healthy. There's nothing wrong with him. The reason why the Eagles signed him to a 2-year deal when they signed him off the Bills practice squad was simple. They wanted to get him to their offseason, get a look at him. He's a number 38. You're going to hear a lot about him. Now, he's on the outside looking in right now. What does that mean? The guys at the safety position right now are obvious. Blankenship is a starter. Makuba, they're fully expecting to start. Now, Sidney Brown's going to have to beat him out. I don't see it happening. Makuba's got much better versatility. But at worst, Brown will be the 3. Tristan McCollum, who Vic Fangio had not only mentioned once, he mentioned twice. Not to forget about him, he's a good special teams player. He's got, by the way, he's very tall. His brother Zion, the Eagles loved for that draft, who I saw at the Senior Bowl out of, I forget, did he go to Sam Houston or something like that? But Tristan is a guy that's got talent, and right now he's a 4 safety and special teamer. Lewis Seen, look, it's extremely rare for teams to keep 5 safeties, Mike. Some have only kept 3. So Seen's a long shot, but you know what? There's talent here. He's healthy. He's long. He's got rare athletic ability. Let's see what happens at camp. The good thing is, Mike, it's yet another position where you look at it, there's going to be a lot of competition. They're not going to hand Makuba the job. They expect him to start. It's not a lot that he starts year 1. Let's see what happens, Mike. This is, as we went through this week, Mike, there are a lot of roles open for this team, particularly on defense.
There is, and you got a safety spot you need a corner probably. You need to find a linebacker at least for the interim defensive tackle. And by the way, there's a lot of possibilities at edge rusher. I mean, it's not a fait accompli that Jalen Sons is going to come in here and knock the socks off of these guys, but I'm sure they like him a lot, and they're hoping that he gets that. But I'm assuming there's snaps to be had there as well. All right, those are a couple names: Byron Young, Smile Mondin, Mac McWilliams, and Lewis Seen to keep an eye on under the radar for the Eagles at training camp. It's Football at 4 from the Inside the Birds podcast with Adam Caplan right here on the Sports Bash. All right, Adam, thanks, buddy.
Thank you.